Yep, ready to roll.
No one talked about drainage.
Yeah, Steve.
Good evening, everyone. I'd now like to call this meeting of March 17, 2026 Planning Commission to order. Ms. Timby, roll call, please.
Ackley,
Here.
Vernock, Mattia, Van Wielden,
Here.
Whitfield,
Here.
Huddleston,
Here.
Dembinski, Weiss, Kierlieber,
Here.
Huck.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Okay, at this time, I would invite everyone to join me in standing and reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This is a public meeting subject to the Nebraska Open Meetings Act, and a current copy of that law is located on the north wall of this meeting room. Feel free to review that law before making any comments if you desire. At this time, we'll introduce our planning staff and legal counsel. We've got Robert Lococo, Planning Director, Ms. Kelly Jeck, Planning Coordinator, Don Simon, Chief Building Official, Julie Ogden, JEO Consultant, Zach Hergenrader, Public Works, is that you back there? Very good. Nicole Spitzenberger, Deputy County Attorney, Lisa Timby, Permit Technician, and John Anderson, Technology Services. So far, everything's working great. Okay, at this time, I would ask that all Planning Commission members and all audience members please silence your cell phones so we don't disturb the meeting here tonight. For those who have not been to a Planning Commission meeting before, here's what's going to happen tonight. We've got a couple administrative things we need to do. One is public comment, and then we'll go through the meeting minutes from our prior meeting. From there, we've got 6 applications tonight for public hearings. For each one of those, we'll read the application. Mr. Lococo will come up. He'll explain what the application is about. After that, the applicant has an opportunity to come forward if they would like to add anything more to the application. After that, we open up for public hearing. And at that time, anyone who has questions on an application or desires to make comments opposing or in favor of, you can come forward to the podium. There's a place for you to sign in, state your name for the record and address, and then you can ask questions, make your comments, whatever that may be. If you ask questions during your testimony, we may or may not answer them immediately as we're talking. Sometimes we'll answer them if we know them right off. Otherwise, we'll just gather all of the information as people are going through. And then at the end, when the public hearing is closed, the applicant has a chance to basically answer any of the questions that had come up during the meeting, and then we as a commission have a chance to either bring people back up and ask questions or to make comments and discuss the application. So that's kind of the process you'll see here this evening. So the first thing we have on our agenda, it's called public comment, and this is for individuals who want to speak to the commission on things that are not on tonight's agenda. So if you want to speak during an agenda item tonight, this would not be the time to come up. But at this time, anyone who's here to wish to speak to the commission on topics that are not listed on the agenda, this would be the time to come forward. Ms. Timby, has anybody signed up to speak this evening?
They have not.
And did anyone here want to come forward to speak on any item that is not on tonight's agenda? This is a new state law we're following. Very exciting. Seeing no one, we're going to move on to the next agenda item. Okay, we have meeting minutes from January 20, 2026. Members of the commission, I would entertain a motion to approve, or I would entertain any revisions you may have.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve as submitted.
Second.
Motion by Whitfield, second by Caleb. Any discussion? Hearing none, please vote.
Six yeas, 4 absent, Vernock, Weiss, Dembinski, Mattia. Motion carries.
Okay, our first public hearing item this evening is for a final plat of a subdivision being known as lots 1 through 7 and outlots A through C of Novosek Acres, being a platting in part of the north half of the southwest quarter of Section 35, Township 13 North, Range 10 East of the 6th Prime Meridian, Sarpy County, Nebraska, generally located southeast of 228th Street and Rough Road. The applicant is CCR Land LLC. Mr. Lococo.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As noted, the request in front of you this evening is approval of a final plat to allow 7 single-family residential lots and 3 outlots for conservation and stormwater drainage purposes on approximately 80 acres located about a quarter mile south of 228th and Rough Road. You see the vicinity map here. This is ag land currently in production. It slopes downhill from northwest towards the substantial drainage channels located in the eastern and southeastern portions of the site. The entire site is located within the Conservation Development Overlay. Site's accessed by 228th Street, running north-south along the western edge of the site. There is no structural development there today. The applicant, as I noted, is requesting a total of 7 single-family residential lots zoned AGR, or agricultural residential, and then 3 outlots. We've got outlot A along the south and southeast, kind of takes up that drainage area or parts of the drainage area, as does outlot B here and outlot C here. The preliminary plat and rezoning were approved by the county board at the August 5th, 2025 meeting. They're proposing a gravel road, a dedicated right-of-way running east to west to east across the property, along with right-of-way dedicated here to the north, to the northern property line, and then to provide a future road connection should that property to the north ever develop. The roadway cross-section that was submitted needs to address some comments that are related to the provision of the ditches that are going to be a part of the road section. The applicant should note that if in the event the road section would move beyond the boundaries of the right-of-way, they would need to dedicate easements in order to accommodate those. When the Planning Commission looked at this last summer, they requested that the applicant provide an easement that ran north-south, south of the primary road, and then also here along the east side of the road, just to ensure that they would provide access to those eastern and southern properties in the event that they should ever develop. We would be able to provide that connectivity. You should note, however, just as a reminder, that these lands are located within a conservation trust, and it's not anticipated that those will ever develop. But the easements are there, and that connectivity can be provided if it would ever be needed in the future. The proposed AGR zoning is consistent with the future land use designation for the property, which is agricultural, and the proposed outlots comprise 42.6% of the total site area, and the conservation overlay district requirements are being met. There are no additional waivers or exceptions that are identified or required as a part of this final plat. The subdivision agreement will address the provision of these north, south, east, west connections if and when those should ever be necessary, and the water service can be provided by private well. Ownership and maintenance will also be addressed as part of the subdivision agreement. There's some red lines and revisions with the final plat document related to the signature blocks and some of the technical language provided there. Those will be addressed prior to this being forwarded to the board. With that, this request it meets the requirements of the subdivision and zoning regulations. Staff is recommending approval of the final plat of the subdivision to be known as Novacek lots 1 through 7, inclusive outlots A, B, and C of Novacek Acres, subject to the 7 conditions noted in the recommendation report.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Lococo. Is the applicant here or a representative?
While they're coming up, my screen keeps popping up the minutes vote, and I can't get it to go away. So,
Help.
And you were not out to the bar before coming here?
I kind of forgot it was St. Patrick's Day, so.
All right. Yeah. All right. Good evening. Josh Seal with Fully Shawled Engineering here on behalf of the client. Just to follow up on what Robert said, we've stuck with the original concept that was approved with preliminary plat. There's been no changes to the lot layout, and we're going to be happy to continue to meet any minor comments that county staff has, and I'll be happy to answer any questions you guys have tonight. The developer's representative and the lawyer are both here if you have any questions for them as well. So.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Seal.
Thank you.
Okay, at this time, we're going to open the public hearing on this matter. One of the things I forgot to mention earlier for public testimony, we generally try to limit that to 5 minutes for each person. And if we have numerous people coming up to address one item, we ask that if an item has already been addressed in terms of a comment, you can either limit your comments to saying you agree or add other comments as to what might be a concern. So at this time, for this first application, anyone from the public wish to testify or ask questions on this matter? Going once, going twice. Seeing no one, we now close the public hearing. What are the wishes of the commission?
If there's no discussion, I would move that we recommend for approval of a final plat of the subdivision known as lots 1 through 7 inclusive and outlots A through C inclusive of Novashek Acres in Sarpy County, Nebraska, subject to the comments and attachments of the recommendation report and these following conditions. Number 1 is to revise the plat to address the following items, which is to provide acceptable language for easements located along the lot lines. Next is to verify with Public Works that the language provided under the review by Sarpy County Public Works signature block is acceptable. Next, to provide signature blocks for the Planning Director, Planning Commission, and County Board. And then next is to address all red lines provided by the Sarpy County Surveyor. Condition 2, revise the provided roadway cross-section to note that the ditch is a minimum 2 feet deep. In addition, the side slope off of the shoulder of the road should be 4:1 maximum. If these two requirements push the ditch outside the dedication right-of-way, either extend the right-of-way as necessary or provide an easement. Item 3, provide for the use, ownership, and maintenance of all shared wells as a part of the subdivision agreement. Item 4 is address all comments provided by other departments and agencies forwarded to the applicant as they are received. And item 5 is to address all comments and red lines provided by the planning department not noted in this report.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion by Mr. Huddleston, second by Mr. Van Wielden. Any discussion? Hearing none, please vote.
Six yeas, 4 absent, Bernat, Weiss, Dembinski, Mattia, motion carries.
Okay, thank you. And Mr. Lococo, we don't have a set date for that going to county board yet, is that right? Based on final cleanup?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. Okay, our second public hearing this evening is a final plat of a subdivision be known as lots 1 through 4 inclusive, the Riva at Chalco, being a platting of the northeast quarter of section 22, township 14 north, range 11 east of the 6 prime meridian, Sarpy County, Nebraska, except that portion conveyed to the United States of America in deed book 149 at page 1607, and except that portion conveyed to the Papio, Missouri River Natural Resources District in instrument number 90-14067, and accept that portion conveyed to Boyer Young Equities, Roman numeral 5 LLC, in instrument number 2004-27640, and except for that portion taken or used for roads. This is generally located southwest of 156th Street and Giles Road. The applicant is Hubble Development Services. Mr. Lococo.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The final plat before you this evening is generally located southwest of 156th and Giles Road, consisting of 20.74 acres, generally flat, grass-covered, undeveloped land. You will, however, note that in the northeast corner of the site, there is an existing cellular communications tower at the intersection. The applicant, or the comprehensive plan rezoning, plan development, and preliminary plat for the Riva was approved by board at the January 13th, 2026 meeting. The applicant's proposing to create a total of 4 lots, 3 for multifamily development and 1 for the existing cell tower, along with rezoning from AG district to RG 35 with the plan development overlay. This evening, we're here to discuss just the final plat. The comp plan amendment, rezoning, plan development would become effective upon the recording of this final plat. Property is accessed 2 locations and a right-in, right-out proposed along Giles Road, as well as full access at 159th and Giles. So here's the final plat before you this evening. A couple things to note here: this access easement that runs through the site between lots 1 and 2 to allow for access to lot 3. There was a waiver that was approved as part of the preliminary plat that allowed for lot 3 to not have frontage along a public street. However, given the kind of campus style development that's being done here, that access can be provided alternatively through this access easement. The request is substantially identical to the preliminary plat that was approved by the Planning Commission, so there are no additional exceptions or waivers that are being requested as a part of the final plat. Primary comments for this particular request are really related to traffic. An updated traffic study was submitted and included traffic counts from January of 2026. And was done while schools were in session to account for the added traffic that typically see during the school year. The study noted that a traffic signal now is warranted at the intersection of 159th and Giles. That would be here at this location. Maybe a little bit easier to see here. Here's the overall plan development. Here's 159th and Giles. As I noted, that would be a fully signalized intersection. I should also note that that right-of-way was being provided and a right turn lane would be constructed as a part of phase 1 of development within the right-of-way. Here at 159th Street, right turning onto Giles, and then a right turn lane, on Giles turning onto 159th here. And then you can see this other one in revised plans located here that would allow for a right turn lane movement onto the site. Participation in the cost of the signal and the cost share for this and for previous Giles Street improvements will be addressed as a part of the subdivision agreement to ensure that those costs are accounted for. And a wastewater service agreement with the city of Gretna will also need to be provided prior to this moving forward to the county board. A revised drainage study was also provided. There are some final red lines to address there, but nothing that would change the layout of the site or the lots that are here for consideration. The applicant does need to note, however, they'll need to coordinate with the NRD, primary property owners to the south. Drainage retention basin located here would outlot onto the NRD property. So they'll need to coordinate with the NRD to kind of design the retention pond and the outlet point to ensure that, or to minimize any impacts related to erosion sediment control from that retention pond. Post-construction stormwater management plan will need to be finalized prior to issuance of a building permit. The applicant also, or as part of your review of this, here's the landscaping plan, revised landscaping. Again, I should note the plan development isn't before you tonight, but we wanted to ensure you guys had a clear picture of the development that was anticipated for the site. We've got additional robust landscaping here along the single-family residential located to the south and to the west, and plenty of green space throughout the site to account for the additional pavement that the plan development was proposing to accommodate for the parking, the off-street parking. Some color building elevations were also provided at request. This would be a typical layout of the 45 plexes. Those are located along Giles Road and along the eastern property line. They go down in intensity of use. This would be an 11-plex with garage doors, as well as sliders located on the opposite side. This would be an example of a 10-plex, very similar. 9-plex, and then the 3-plexes, these would be the ones that would be closest to or adjacent to the single-family residential lots south and west of the site. Color palette. The fire department has requested coordination for the installation of dual-keyed Knox boxes, which would allow for both the Omaha Fire Department and the Papillion Fire Department to access the site in the case of an emergency. I would expect that's going to be a fairly typical type of requirement in this location where we've got dual fire departments that might be involved in a response. But the request complies with the requirements of the underlying zoning and subdivision regulations, and with that, staff recommends approval of the final plat, lots 1 through 4 of the Riva at Chalco, subject to meeting the 9 conditions in the recommendation report.
One question, Mr. Lococo, because this may come up from public comment. I know when we did the preliminary plat, there was a lot of discussion on that signalization. Sounds like the new traffic study indicated, according to the report, it says will likely be warranted.
It's warranted. Yeah, it's warranted.
Any idea how long it would take before that traffic signal would get installed?
I would defer to Public Works for the timing on that, but I would imagine it would be part of phase 1.
Okay, thank you. Okay, at this time, would the applicant like to add anything for public comments on this matter?
Good evening. Trevor Vestrana with TD2 Engineering and Surveying, 10836 Old Mill Road, here on behalf of the applicant, Hubble Development Services. I think Robert covered a lot. One of the things I just wanted to mention was the updated traffic study did have actual traffic counts at the intersection of 159th and Giles. The previous study had used some MAPA data and some assumptions there, so we got actual field measurements there. If there are any other questions, I'm happy to answer them. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Bresca. At this time, we will open the public hearing for this item. Is anyone here in the audience have any questions on this matter or any testimony in favor of or testimony opposed to? Now would be the time to come forward. Come on up, sir. We'll have you sign in and state your name for the record. While you're doing that, I should mention for the commissioners, this is the application. We had one email previously received and distributed to everyone by email goes to this application, so hopefully you all had a chance to look at that as well.
Hi, my name is Chris Schlehuber. I'm a resident in the Stonecrest subdivision, which is just to the west of where the apartments are going to be built.
Okay.
Here on the traffic. I've been following that closely. When they finished the Connect SARPI there at 180th, and back in 2023, we saw a great increase in traffic coming down. A lot of the studies for the apartments, because there's not just this one, but 2 other apartments that are being built, one west of our neighborhood in Meridian Park Place. They're in construction now. There's also one that's just started at 168th in the northwest corner. which I think has about 100 or so that I saw when I had permits. So the studies were using the MAPA, was it the Metro Area Planning Agency 2022 study, when Giles Road was completely closed, as they turned it from a gravel road into the paved road. So as they said, they got actual counts now from when there. All of these that they've been using those kind of estimated ones where that 2022 study was showing there were 0 cars that were coming on Giles at that time. And right now, the traffic has greatly increased. It's very, very difficult to turn out of our neighborhood now. I have a teenage daughter, and she's talked to me as the traffic's been growing, how it's been harder and harder for her, and she's a little less and less comfortable about it. And especially as we get more and more teenagers that are coming out of we have a lot of young families in our neighborhood. They're now becoming teenagers as this development has grown over the past few years. And myself, as I've been leaving in the morning to go to school, when they took the study during the school, I count cars as they go by, and there's at least 13 cars on average that go. One time I counted up to 23, and I usually get a very small gap in order to turn. As we said before, turning left is almost impossible in the morning. In the evening time coming home, well, I usually come on I-80 and come down Highway 50 going north. That left turn lane turning onto Giles backs up all the way past the little Bobcat place. I guess big Bobcats. And so it takes about 3 or 4 signals for us to turn left onto there. And from 156 down to 144th Street, it's pretty much a constant car. And those apartments, the Rock Creek apartments, and then the subdivision that are there, a lot of them don't have a chance to turn out in the evenings. Last night, as I was coming home, I could see a white vehicle that was trying to turn out the apartments. I saw them as I came up from 144th, and then I continued up the hill, and I could still see them in my rearview mirror, and they never got to turn as I went up there. So I went almost a whole mile before, and they were still sitting there. So I know that they're proposing the light at 159th Street, but I think in the morning that may back up, because at 156th Street, we will sometimes back up to 109th Street as they're going down from 156 all the way to 144th. That will back up as well, and it'll be a full cars, and most of them are turning left, and they only get 4 or 5 cars that can turn to go northbound on 144th Highway 50. So I'd like to see, last time in October when we were discussing this, they said there was no projects that were planned for Giles at this time. As I've looked at some other things, I saw the Western Sarpy County Transportation Enhancement Plan, and then also I wrote it down, I think it was this comprehensive study that was on there. They're talking about, we also now have the intersection 192nd Street on I-80 that they're planning, which is what the whole Connect Sarpy and doing the 180th Meridian 192nd was about, was to get all that traffic. Well, we're seeing a lot of that now, especially with a lot of the subdivisions that were created at 180th and Giles. You have the Windsors and the Mirabelle and the Chaco Point. Those are probably half or so developed now. So we have a lot more development coming on those, and we have the 2 rec areas that are coming as well. So that's going to grow even more when it comes to the traffic that's coming on Giles. I would like to see at least something being mentioned of what's going to be the plan for Giles. Right now, I look at the websites and I don't see anything. The comments we had previously, there was no mention of anything coming on Giles. There are plans of saying, hey, we need to turn Giles into a four lane at some point in time, like the 2040, 2050 plans. But right now, we're having difficulties leaving from our neighborhood. And we're gonna see that just probably get worse as this apartment, the 2 other apartments that are currently being built, the subdivisions that are all being built, that's just gonna grow and grow. So I'd like to see what the plan is for that. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Schlehuber. Anyone else desire to speak on this matter this evening? Questions, testimony in opposition, or in support of? Seeing none, would the applicant like to respond to the question on the long-term piece of the traffic? Or better yet, I know we have Public Works hanging out in the back. I know you're dying to make a public appearance. Come on up. While you're coming up, we obviously had a lot of testimony when this came up for the initial zoning and for the preliminary plat on the traffic. The new traffic study was a requirement before we get to final plat. That's obviously come in and stated that, hey, we do warrant a signal. That'll help, certainly on 159th, but again, as our testimony indicated, it's just a busy area out there. Any idea, long-term plans before we add some more lanes or do something for traffic control?
So, yeah, we're actively looking at, actively looking at doing a study along the whole Giles corridor. That's something we'll have to put on our 1 and 6 year plan and get approval from the Board of Commissioners before we proceed with that. But that's something I'd like to get done.
Any rough guess if the way to alleviate this long-term is more lanes or more traffic lights along the way? Just hard to...
It's hard to say until we get that study done, but those are definitely options.
Okay.
I have a question of the timing of the signal. With this revised traffic study that's saying it's warranted, would the county be supportive of a signal? And do you think that could happen?
Yep.
Okay.
And I think it helps too that the developer would be on the hook for a portion of that as well to help contribute.
So that could be moved up more in conjunction with the phase one build out, just to alleviate any questions of the timing. Okay, wonderful.
I have a question. The 159th going north where that light will be put, is that one lane going north? So if that light is red, anyone who wanted to turn right would be stuck behind left turners there? Is that how this is currently proposed?
I'd have to look into it a little bit further, but yeah, if that's just a single lane, that'd be the case.
Because then that would push traffic that would want to turn right either through, the development itself, or they would probably have to go south to whatever the next, was that 161st, to make a right-hand turn. So
Right.
they'd be going the wrong direction to go.
Yeah, and
So
that's
maybe that warrants a right-hand turn lane out of 159th going north.
right. That's why I'd like to kind of look at the whole corridor to find those issues and concerns and hopefully alleviate those.
That is like a 25-foot wide lane on both of those. So maybe just with some striping or something,
Yep,
you could
that's
at
an
least
option.
do a center stripe so that doesn't happen to people as they're trying to get in and out.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Anything else from the applicant? I know you don't control traffic on Giles Road.
Trevor Veskrina, TD2 Engineering and Surveying. Just wanted to say that, yeah, that updated traffic study did recommend the signal there and the 2 right turn lanes, and the developers are fully on board with that, so.
Developers are aware they'll participate in the cost. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
And those would be constructed with phase one.
Yes, I think the report said by the completion of phase 1, which is, I can't remember how many units. It's that northwest corner and some of those south units, so it would be at the end of phase 1. Yep.
Okay, any other questions, comments from the commissioners? Otherwise, I would entertain a motion.
I would move that we recommend for approval of a final plat of the subdivision known as lots 1 through 4, the Riva at Chalco in Sarpy County, Nebraska, subject to the comments and attachments in the Planning Department recommendation report and these following conditions. Number 1 is to provide for the financial contribution to a traffic signal at the intersection of 159th Street and Giles Road in the subdivision agreement. Provide for the financial contribution to the cost share for the previous Giles Road improvements as part of the subdivision agreement. Number 3 is to provide a wastewater service agreement with the city of Gretna. Number 4 is to revise the submitted drainage and traffic studies to address all red line comments and provide all identified improvements. Number 5 is to coordinate with the Papio Missouri River Natural Resource District, the NRD, on the design of the retention basin outfall on NRD property. The final design of the retention basin and outfall should be included as part of the subdivision agreement. Item 6 is to revise the plat document to provide an access easement to the retention area located on the northeast corner of proposed Lot 2. Item 7 is to coordinate with the Millard Fire District and the City of Omaha Fire Department to provide dual-keyed lock boxes on the site. Number 8 is to address comments provided by other departments and agencies, which will be forwarded to the applicant as they are received. And item 9 is to address any other comments sent separately by planning staff, any attachments in the planning department recommendation report not noted above.
Mr. Chair, if I could provide just a moment of clarification for you related to one of those conditions of approval. This was for provision of the access easement to the north, the drainage. If you could put up the site plan here that I've got on the screen. Previous iterations of the plan had always noted this, but this plan, it continues to be in place here. There's a stormwater retention basin located in the northeast corner of the property near that cell tower site. The final plat document, it appears that that drainage retention basin is going to be a permanent feature. We thought maybe it was temporary during construction, but it appears that it's permanent. And as you note here, there's no access to that through the site. So what the condition is saying is that they'll need to provide some method of being able to get through the site to that stormwater retention basin with an access easement. That's something very similar was required for the access, or providing an access easement to the property to the south. And that's, just as an example, is being provided here. We're just requesting that something similar be provided to the one on the northeast.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Lococo. Hang on, we got a motion by Mr. Huddleston. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Van Wielden. Question, Mr. Whitfield.
Regarding your access easement to that stormwater detention basin, if it's all one lot, all owned by the same people, do they need an access easement to get across their own lot? We've never done that before.
Generally, in my experience, if I should start with saying that the request or the condition of approval was provided by, or was requested by, I can't remember, Julie, you?
Well, the easement is for the county and/or their representatives to do the inspection of the detention basin as required under the post-construction stormwater management plan. Sorry, Julie Ogden, JEO Consulting Group, for the people who don't know me behind me. That's the purpose of the easement. It's not for the owner to do maintenance on their own basin. It's for the inspections by county and/or city staff, or whoever they designate to do it. So that easement would likely be provided with that permit as well. However, we wanted to make sure it was noted on the final plat that that would be required. It could be filed separately.
Yeah, we've never done it before, and it just seems odd to have an access easement for that purpose.
Well, we can't park on Giles Road to do the
Trying to look to our legal help back there. Sorry, Nicole. I get it, kind of, but it just seems odd that we've never done that. So now we're going to have access easements every time we have a permanent stormwater facility, which is every lot over an acre.
No, we're not going to do that. No, this I think is a little bit of a unique case, as Julie was saying. So, but we won't need them for every single one. So.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Huddleston, a second by Mr. Van Wielden. Any other discussion? Hearing none, please vote.
While everybody's voting, I am still flying blind other than being able to vote.
6 yeas, 4 absent, Bernard, Weiss, Dembinski, Mattia. Motion carries.
Okay, thank you. Okay, our third public hearing this evening is for a rezoning from Agricultural Farming District to RE2, which is Residential Estates 2 District, and a preliminary plat and a final plat of a subdivision to be known as lots 1 through 3 inclusive, and outlots A through E inclusive, Buffalo Preserve being a platting of part of tax lot 9 in the west half of the southwest quarter of section 31, township 13 north, range 11 east of the 6 prime meridian, Sarpy County, Nebraska, generally located northeast of 204th Street and Buffalo Road. Applicant Heather Dembinski. Mr. Lococo.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As noted, the property is located approximately 1,400 feet north of 204th and Buffalo Road on the east side of 204th Street, comprised of approximately 17.16 acres of hilly agricultural land. There is no structural development on the site. There is an existing driveway that extends from 204th Street east to the eastern boundary of the property. The applicant is proposing a total of 3 single-family residential lots zoned RE2 district, along with a total of 6 outlots. If you allow me to go through this with you, the location and purpose of these lots and outlots. So we've got lot 1 located here, fronting 204th Street. We've got lot 2 located here. And we have lot 3 located here. Outlot A is located north of lot 1. Outlot B is located west of lot 2. And outlot C is located north of lot 3. The remaining 3 outlots are located here. And outlot D, outlot E would comprise the existing driveway. And outlot F is proposed down here, southeastern corner of the property to provide for a turnaround on the existing driveway. Let's see if there's a... So the intent here, I should also note dedication of right-of-way here along the southern property line that would accommodate the existing driveway, and then dedication of additional right-of-way required for 204th Street. The future land use designation for the property is agricultural, and the RE2 district is, according to the Sarpy County Comprehensive Plan, is considered an appropriate land use designation for the agricultural, RE2 district is appropriate zoning district for the land use designation of agricultural. RE2 requires a minimum of 2-acre lot size. Generally, the lots that are being proposed, the single-family residential lots, are 3 to 3.2 acres in size. The property is located entirely within the conservation overlay, which requires a minimum of 40% of the total lot area or land area be conserved within outlots. So that's the primary purpose of outlots A, B, and C. In this instance, the applicant is proposing that each of these outlots kind of be developmentally and ownership tied to the corresponding single-family residential lots. So outlot 1 and A would go together, 2 and B would go together, 3 and C would go together. That's important because there is a waiver that is being requested to allow for outlot C to not front a public street right-of-way. However, given that lot 3 and outlot C would be tied together developmentally, and that the purpose of outlot C is and will always be to serve as conservation overlay, we found that that waiver would be acceptable and appropriate in this instance. These remaining outlots, or these outlots here on the southwest corner, they kind of deal with an atypical driveway situation. A good aerial view, which I neglected to provide, would note that this driveway it cuts at 204th Street, enters here, and then cuts sharply to the south. And that's to allow for appropriate site distance triangles to be provided. Otherwise, they would be located this would allow that driveway to be located at the top of the hill If that driveway were extending straight west, it would be right below the crest of the hill, and that's typically not desirable for a driveway location. At some point in time, with the improvement of 204th Street, construction of roads here, these outlots could be incorporated into Lot 1 if they wanted to in the future. One other thing to note with regard to these outlots, this one here on the end, we've had ongoing conversations with the Springfield Fire Department, and they noted that there's a 40-foot radius for this turnaround that's provided. They would prefer to see a 60-foot radius to allow for their apparatus to be able to safely turn around in that cul-de-sac bulb. So there will be a revision of this before it goes to county board to provide that 60-foot radius. The applicant has indicated they're willing to do that, willing to work with Springfield Fire to provide whatever is needed in order to ensure that that's safe for their apparatus to go through. An additional 22 feet of right-of-way has been dedicated here along 204th Street in compliance with the Western Sarpy County Transportation Enhancement Plan, or WESTEP. They indicated a 110-foot right-of-way along 204th Street would eventually be necessary. So we're getting the 55 feet on the east side of that center line. 25 feet of right-of-way dedicated along the southern property line. This would allow for the existing driveway to remain. In conversations with the applicant, they've indicated their intent is to just develop a one single-family residence on the site on Lot 3. With the existing driveway located where it's at and functioning as it does today, we felt that their intent is not to develop lots 1 or 2 at this point in time, although they would have the option to do so in the future. So they want to have that option, but still be able to build a single-family residence here. In that instance, allowing this to remain a driveway, we feel makes the most sense, but we would still be getting the right-of-way necessary for future improvements if that should be become warranted in the future. So 25 feet of dedicated right-of-way along the southern property line will allow the driveway to remain. We should note, though, that if and when any 2 of these properties, so assuming that the property owner wants to put a single-family residence on this lot, if either Lot 1 or Lot 2 should develop in the future, we would require at that point that the existing driveway be improved or upgraded to include 2-lane traffic, typical rural road cross-section, including ditches. And similar to Novacek Acres, if those improvements should need to go beyond the boundaries of the right-of-way, they would be required to provide those easements or dedicate additional right-of-way on the north side of that property line. Kind of as an extension of that, if in the future property to the south or property to the east develop, I'll pull up a more regional look at this. If property to the south or property to the east should develop, then the applicant would be required to contribute to the paving of 1 lane of road as it's adjacent to their property. As appropriate, it would depend on what kind of development plans were brought in by those adjacent property owners. Both of those requirements would be spelled out in the subdivision agreement. We've had a lot of conversation with a lot of neighbors as a result of this request. One of our conversations with the neighbor to the south revealed that some of the language in the recommendation report might be confusing and could be interpreted differently than what was intended. So I just want to take a moment to be very clear about the request and ensure that we have on the record what is and is not being required here. The request does not require the adjacent property owner to dedicate any right-of-way. If close reading of that, I think a typical developer or typical staff member would look at that and we would feel pretty confident as to what it means. But if someone's not as involved in development, I can absolutely see how that language could be a little confusing. So we just want to clarify, the adjacent property owner to the south is not required to dedicate any right-of-way as a part of this request. And future development request and also is not required to contribute anything to the paving of a road. Those would be requirements that the existing or the applicant as the property owner would be required to do if conditions warranted it in the future, but it does not impact the property owner to the south and what they would be required to do or allowed to do on their property. So we just want to be very clear, the request does not obligate any of the neighbors to change the property or the uses on their property as a part of this. And just so you're aware, we will be updating the recommendation report before it goes to county board to ensure that that's clear for the county board at that time as well.
So just to clarify, in our package this evening, in the proposed motions, under preliminary plat, that would be 1A and 1B. In other words, it's only upon development of those that are south or north that something would have to be done as opposed to part of this application.
Yes, they would need to bring in their own request with their own lot layout and their own proposal for a similar condition or requirement to be placed on them, but it's not a part of this.
Yep, thank you.
Discuss the waivers. So just moving on to some of the other comments we've received from our development review team. Each property is to be serviced by private well and septic. The applicant has indicated that they've done some test drilling and that appropriate services can be provided for each lot. If you have additional questions on that, I encourage you to, the applicant's representative is available here this evening, and they should be able to provide additional details. The fire department, as I noted, has requested that additional radius be provided for the fire apparatus turnaround on the east or southeast corner of the site. The applicants noted they're more than willing to accommodate those requests. And stormwater drainage will be addressed as a part of the review of any building permits that come forward. And all of that stormwater management must be provided in compliance with our stormwater regulations. With that, this request complies with all of subdivision and zoning regulations. Staff is recommending approval of the rezoning from AG to RE2. Approval of the preliminary plat, lots 1 through 3 inclusive, outlots A through F inclusive of Buffalo Preserve, subject to the 6 conditions in the recommendation report, and approval of the final plat for the same, subject to the 6 conditions noted in the recommendation report.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Lococo. If the applicant is here and would like to add any additional commentary. Good evening. We'll have you state your name for the record and sign in. Yep, please.
Good evening. My name is Sandra Woodle. I'm a property owner on this parcel. I would like to take a moment to address some of the concerns and questions regarding the proposal of dividing this property into 3 lots.
Okay.
First and foremost, it's not intended to be a large-scale development project. Our goal is not to maximize density or profit, but rather to create a small, family-focused setting. The property is being developed with the intention of building our own homes while providing an opportunity for our family to live near us and be close to us in times of need. In 2020, we did our due diligence prior to purchasing this property. We met with Donna Lyman and Jason Kubicek, explaining our desire to potentially purchase this 17-acre property and wanting to create acreage lots for our family. Donna Lyman explained in detail how the property could be divided into 3 lots. Jason Kubicek in July of 2020 emailed us drawings and examples of how the lots and the conservation lots could be designed. In December of 2020, we purchased the property with our daughter and son-in-law with the intent of creating acreage lots for our families to build our dream homes. Approximately 40% of the property is being preserved as conservation outlots. These areas will be maintained by the lot owners and are intended to protect the natural landscape and maintain the rural character of the area. The wells are permitted and constructed by rules in accordance with rules and laws of the Natural Resources District and the Nebraska Department of Environmental Quality. Those laws are set forth to protect all water in Nebraska and therefore providing protection to adjacent property owners as well. Wells meet all setback standards and minimum distance setbacks. State setbacks and requirements are met, and wells are permitted. We have done our due diligence and have met the requirements. Wells produce more than adequate gallons permitted to support residential use. As required by Sarpy County, we dedicated a right-of-way as to be dedicated along the south property line and along 204th Street. Additionally, the cul-de-sac will be constructed to meet the fire department's requirements. We have recently spoke with Springfield Fire Department and have reviewed the driveway road and told them that we will install the cul-de-sac to the size that they desire. Springfield Fire Department has told us they have no issues. At the end of the day, our intention is simple: to build our dream home, to raise our families in an acreage, and to be thoughtful of the stewards of the land. Concerns regarding water quality and long-term sustainability are just as important to us as they are to our neighbors, and we will continue to prioritize those for them as we move forward. We appreciate your time, consideration, and willingness to engage in this process.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Woodle. Okay, we're going to open the public hearing. Anyone who has questions on this applications or testimony in favor of or opposed to, now would be the time to come forward. And as you're coming up, and you'll sign in and state your name for the record, for the commissioners on this application, this is the one we had 4 emails sent earlier in the week with the package, so hopefully you've all had a chance to review those before today.
My name is Mark Slotchik. I live at 1796th Street, Nahaka. My wife and I own the property directly south of the proposed Buffalo Preserve. I'm a little confused on this right-of-way. In the recommendations report, item 3C, traffic and access, it states that 25 feet of right-of-way must be provided by the property owner to the south of the property. To me, that's pretty clear. It says it must be provided by the property owner to the south. If that's not the case, then why is it in the documents?
Mr. Chair.
Yeah, go ahead, Mr. Lococo.
Thank you. So the intent with that section of the report was to note that if in the future a typical road section were to be located at that place between the two property lines, 25 feet of the right-of-way would be located on the subject owner or the subject property. 25 feet of the right-of-way would typically be dedicated along the south side of that property line. So the intent was to note that a full 50 foot would not be required on the subject property. It would be 25 feet and 25 feet sometime in the future. This is the moment.
You just told me that this was not going to affect our property.
But that road is, I should be clear, that road is not being required today.
It's only if you were to develop in the future. If you own that property directly to the south and you wanted to do a similar development, you would have to dedicate 25 feet to match up with that so that it's a full width county road.
And if I want to put the road in the middle of my property, would that still affect that 25 feet?
We would need to see some more definitive plans to be able to tell you what would or would not be required. But if there was no development along that north part of your property, there would be no need for a road.
Okay. I've kind of looked at some other plots that you guys have went through this process, and I have never seen that wording or terminology in any of the other plots.
I fully admit to that not being well-written and a poor choice of words, and it's not clear. But
so if that's the case, then why are we going to approve it tonight?
Well, as I tried to note to the commission, the intent here I'm trying to be very clear that there will not be any requirement for you to dedicate any right-of-way or contribute financially to any construction of any road.
But that's not
And
what
we
it says in
will
the document.
make that explicitly clear if and when this goes to county board.
Okay. That's my two major concerns, obviously. Like I say, I don't want this to affect my property. I don't want that on a title that'll transfer through if I ever do sell a property to anybody. So I don't think any of that needs to be in the recommendation report. So that's all I have to say.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Sidlejczyk. Anyone else wish to come forward? We'll have you sign in and state your name for the record.
My name is Matthew Slawczyk. I live directly north of the proposed Buffalo Preserve. I sent an email. I don't know if you got it or not.
We've got it here with us.
Okay. Number one has been resolved as I see currently, so that's not an issue. Number two, with the dedication of conservation, I was informed that the area was to be 60% in outlots, and they are showing 40% conservation. I think further research should be conducted. A typical max cul-de-sac length, I believe, is 660 foot. I know exceptions have been made here, but there is a 1,260 foot, which is significant. Number four has already been addressed. Number five, why is the road access not fully developed in this plot? Number six is, I'd like a little more, I guess, information of how water was attained, because on the plot, it says City of Gretna, and for the gas, it says Black Hills Energy. Is there an erosion control plan in place? What has been done to prevent additional water directed into surrounding properties? And my last one is, who maintains and owns the outlots?
Okay. We'll address each of those at the end. Anyone else wishing to come forward this evening to testify or have questions on this application?
My name is Greg Gillum. And I live approximately 1/10 of a mile north of the property in question. Okay. And my wife and I have lived there since 1997. We bought a pre-existing property there. It's a property that was not a new build. It was over 100 years old. That is one single unit on 10 acres. And I would say at the outset that I have no problem whatsoever with there being improvement on this property. I think it's their right to own a single-family home. My question is the number of properties that have been requested. So I saw several months ago some well drilling activity there, and it made sense because I knew the property had been sold. When I saw that this meeting had been held about zoning, then I started questioning, how many wells have been dug, and we're not even zoned yet. So I did some calling, and I was able to call the Planning and Building Department at Sarpy County, and they were very helpful. As mentioned, there were at least 3, maybe 4 test wells already drilled. And I was told that those are probably, there are also, I should say, already 3 addresses assigned to this property in which there are 3 properties or lots requested. So I find that's an interesting coincidence. I was also told that those addresses may simply be assigned to those wells or potential future utility usage. So again, I'm just a tenth of a mile north of there. I should add, I haven't heard anyone say that this is, Buffalo Road is not, or excuse me, 204th is not paved, it's a gravel road. You probably know that. If anyone wants, I have a copy of this meeting title and the addresses that have been assigned. If you want that, I brought copies for you. You may already be aware of those. What I really wanted to address is the request for the 3 properties on this. I don't know much about this, so I just went on the website at Sarpy County and started looking. And there were a couple of zoning districts that were a possibility. They're requesting for this RE2 residential estate 2, which is a minimum of 2-acre lots. And I know you guys are probably all familiar with this. I was just going to read this. It's a 1-sentence description of what this represents for the people behind me. A residential estates 2 is the purpose of this district is to prevent the excessive concentration of population in areas where low population density is desirable due to limited facilities and other factors which may have an effect, okay? So, and that's minimum of 2 acres. But I reviewed some other possibilities there, and there's another classification which I think is much more appropriate and a perfect fit for what this property is. This is complete agriculture property, and it's all surrounded by agriculture. And the dedication or the designation which seems the most appropriate to me is something called agricultural residential district. And the minimum use there is 5 acres. The 1 sentence describing that is, this district is intended to provide a transition from land used for agriculture to a low-density residential use with a limited infringement of other areas. So I think that's what's going on here. We're transitioning from ag to residential as opposed to the other option. So again, that's minimum of 5 acres. I also went to the Gretna City Department, and I know they don't have jurisdiction in this area, but they do have ag zoning responsibility in that area, which is south of the interstate. So I just looked and see what I could find on their website, and they had 3 that could be roughly applied to this, but actually 2 of them don't apply to this property. One of them was called Transitional Agricultural District, and that was dedicated for an area that is in the process of transitioning from full-scale agriculture to more urban uses. We're not even close to urban out there. This is all full-scale agricultural. Another one was Residential Estates Animals District, and in that description it says, established for the purpose of allowing low-density residential uses that are compatible with adjacent urban growth. And again, urban really doesn't apply to this area. The section that seemed the most appropriate to me is what they classify as agricultural district. I couldn't find any other options that would remotely apply to this. But the agricultural district, that's a little longer description, but I think it's worth hearing. And then this is per Gretna. The agriculture district is established for the purpose of preserving agricultural resources within extraterritorial jurisdiction of Gretna, which this is not in their jurisdiction, but is unlikely to be compatible with adjacent urban growth within the planning period. I don't know what their planning period is, but I think we're a long ways from urban growth. However, it's not intended for commercial feedlots or for beef or poultry. So, and it's also in accommodating very low-density residential development. The district is designed to limit urban sprawl. We're not even close to urban sprawl out there. But according to Gretna, that would have to be a minimum of 10 acres for a lot in that area where we're out that I'm discussing. So to me, I think that's a significant difference because Gretna also addresses rural properties that are just right down the street, maybe just a couple miles from us. I have copies of the Gretna if you want it. I only brought 3, but I've at least written the name of this property on here if you want it. Do you want any of that or the initial copies with the addresses of the wells, or do you need them?
If you've got them and you want to hand them out, that'd be great.
Okay.
And if you want to leave one for Ms. Timby for her records.
Who wants one of the 3? I guess I'll give one to you.
Okay, thank you.
I'll probably give one to.
Yep. Thank you.
And then the property addresses
brought one for everybody if you want it.
Thank you. Thanks.
That's all I have. Thank you for your
Okay,
time.
thank you, Mr. Gillum. Anyone else have questions on this application or wish to testify in favor of or opposed to? Please come forward. We'll have you sign in and state your name for the record.
Hi, my name is Jeff Schulting. I live to the west of this property, on the west side of 204th, which my only concern was, and I think there was a lot of clarification on the road or the right-of-way, if it ever was an actual county road that led up between the south property and that, it is there's kind of a hill there, and it'd be very poor sight in the future if that ever did happen. So I guess my suggestion is if we could always go up on top of the hill. So that was my only thought. I know the county's got a lot of issues.
Yeah.
But
challenges, not
yeah,
issues.
I do farm. I farm full time, and I see a lot of little driveways and entryways that sure could be improved if somebody would have spoke up. So I guess now is my chance.
Okay.
So,
Thank
all
you,
right,
Mr.
thank you.
Schulting. You bet. Anyone else have any questions or comments with regard to this application? Going once, going twice. Okay, if the applicant would like to respond to any of the commentary heard, otherwise we'll have Mr. Lococo go through a few of the items that were brought up. Go ahead, Ms. Woodle.
Yes, regarding the access on the road, we met with Rod Ripley when we received a permit at the site to put in the rock road. It was his recommendation that we create that kind of a swoop for the line of sight on the crest of the hill for safety of all people coming in and out of the property. Would give a much better line of sight than to where to go straight across. So that's why that was created and was requested by Rod Ripley at the time of permitting. Regarding addresses assigned to anything, I'm unaware of any address assigned to anything. I don't know where that would have came from or how that would have happened. I have no recollection or knowledge of any of that. The only thing the well company did request permits to be able to put test wells in. I don't know if an address was assigned in reference to that. I have no idea. I am totally unaware of anything about any addresses being presented. Regarding when you look at the plat, we're required to provide 40% to conservation. In doing that, along with the right-of-way areas, reduce the amount of area available for plotting into lots. When you look at Lot 1, it's 3.057. Lot 2 is 3.223. Lot 3 is 3.156. That is the available amount of ground that can be put into lots. You cannot create 2 5-acre lots with that. Our choice was 3. I mean, that was the only option we had. That was due to the fact that the amount of right-of-way we had to give on 204th and also on the south side took away from the available ground we had to be able to divide into lots. That's the knowledge I have.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Woodle. Mr. Lococo, would you come forward? let's just walk through some of the comments and questions that were received. You've clarified the 25-foot right-of-way, and again, that'll get clarified before this goes to the board. I think the way they're written in the final plat and preliminary plat recommendations are clearer than what's otherwise in the staff report, so I think that will address the concern of the first gentleman. In terms of Matt Sedlacek's comments, I guess let's just walk through his email letter here. He had 8 items. First one he mentioned was addressed. Second one, with dedication to conservation, can you confirm that 40% is correct and it's not the 60%?
That's correct. Per the Sarpy County Comprehensive Plan, Conservation Overlay District the Sarpy County zoning ordinance, Conservation Overlay District requires 40% of the land be set aside.
And each of these would then address that based on, again, Outlot A goes with Lot 1, Outlot B goes with Lot 2, and Outlot C goes with Lot 3.
That's correct.
Okay. He also had a question on the maximum cul-de-sac length. I think you'd mentioned earlier that there was a waiver on that based on only having 3 potential lots coming off of that road, but I guess if you would address.
Sure. The waiver that I noted in my presentation earlier was with regards to the frontage for Outlot C. This is and has been done in different ways. The intent for not requiring a waiver for the cul-de-sac length is that it's not intended to be a cul-de-sac. Someday in the future, it's intended to go through. If there was a waiver for cul-de-sac length that was approved, they would be under no obligation to connect to any property to the east in the future. So if the waiver's not approved, then at some point that improvement might be deferred, and it might be deferred a long time, but at some point that connection's intended to be made.
And that cul-de-sac, if they were to build their first home on Lot 3 and not build on 2 or 1 for a period of time, is that required from the start, as opposed to just having a driveway that goes back to Lot 3?
I believe so. Per our conversations with the Springfield Fire Department, they want to ensure that if they need to drive down the length of that driveway, that they can get an apparatus turned around. Given the fact that there's no fire hydrants out here, they would need to be able to move a pumper truck or a tanker truck up and down the site.
Okay. Road access was mentioned as not fully developed on the plat. I guess I'm not sure what, we may have to get Mr. Sedlacek back up to, if we've got to clarify that, unless you've got.
I don't want to speculate on Mr. Sedlacek's intent, but in terms of this being maintained as a driveway or as a rock road, as the applicant's representative noted, we feel that that would be preferable to, at this point, given that there's only 1 lot that's intended to be developed at this time. As I kind of noted in the conditions of the report, at the time that a second lot on this would be developed, there would be a full road development plan.
Okay. On item 6, with regard to the water, again, we've heard that there were test wells planned.
One clarification on the full road,
Go ahead.
which you'd stated that would be on 100% on the applicant's property.
That is
until
correct.
the south property is
100% of
developed.
that road would be on the applicant's property.
Okay.
Okay. With regard to the water, we've heard about the testing and the wells. Is there an error on the plat that references City of Gretna or Black Hills Energy? I guess, is that a cleanup we need to have?
We'll double check to ensure that those are the correct entries, but generally what these plats requirement, they're referring to this right here, and they're just noting the applicable, if they were not pursuing private well and septic, or if they were hooking into a natural gas system, this would be the agency of jurisdiction. This is where they would go through. But in this case, since they're proposing private well and septic, since they're, I'm assuming, proposing private gas or propane, those would be not applicable. This is just kind of boilerplate language that identifies what applicable utility there is in that area.
Okay. I think his next question, item 7 on erosion control plan. Is there anything required with regard to retention ponds, or is this mostly for grading and the SWIP NPDS that gets done with part of the grading plan?
Yeah, there would be no retention ponds required as a part of this development. As I noted, at time of building permits, they would need to demonstrate that they comply with all stormwater management regulations. If at some point in time in the future they needed to contribute to or if they needed to construct a road on their property, part of the stormwater management regulations would ensure that that water did not flow onto the neighbor's property.
Okay. Then the final question on who maintains and owns the outlots?
Again, as we kind of discussed in the presentation, the intent is that each of these outlots would be owned by the adjacent property owner. So 1 in A, 2 in B, and 3 in C. The outlots would be owned by those, and that would be spelled out in the subdivision agreement.
Okay, just looking through. So one of the comments Mr. Gillum made with regard to acreages, again, you outlined in the beginning that based on this particular zoning request, it does have the 2 acre minimum, but you also need the outlots to go with it. I guess I would just reference Mr. Gillum from the transitional egg you referenced with Gretna as an example for 5 acre. Again, with this being a 17 acre subdivision, you could end up in the same place with 3 lots, even if that were a choice here for the transitional egg in Sarpy. And then Mr. Schulting's comment on, what's the likelihood of that ever actually becoming a main road on the south side here for the county, with it being fully developed based on the location, based on the peak of the hill, again, to be determined, unless or until you've got development plans that come in from a party.
Correct.
And if and when that happened, there would be a ultimate profile review on the connecting street as well, right?
Yeah, notes about the crest of the hill and where that driveway location is at are dead on. Like if 204th Street were to be improved to paved surface in the future, the ultimate grading profile of that would dictate where the most appropriate location for that intersection would be. But that's speculative and far in the future, I would say. I did want to point out with Mr. Gillum's comments with relationship to the utility addresses, we did have a conversation with him about this, and we're able to look into this. And the applicant's representative actually kind of nailed it on the head. When they test drilled, they provided, because there was a permit pulled for those, there was an address associated with those. Those are utility addresses. None of those wells are active or hooked up to any power. It's just simply a kind of a placeholder for our permitting software, and to ensure if there was some kind of problem, we would be able to attach an address to an emergency response.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Lococo.
I have the cul-de-sac at the end. If this were just being built out as a single house on 20 acres, the county wouldn't make them do a turnaround in their private drive, would we?
Probably not.
But it's because of lot 1 and lot 2 also attaching to that.
Yep.
Yeah.
And the landowner's willing to do it. I'm just trying to point out that if they were just going to build a single lot, that this goes away. Then the other question I was going to ask, but I think you already answered it. I was going to see if we could get Public Works to maybe kind of look at the future, and rather than doing the bifocals in the right spot here, outlot E, do we just go ahead and call that right away and just put the road there? Because now the county's gonna, if it doesn't line up, the county's gonna have a taking, and we're gonna be paying for future right away.
I think it's really difficult to be able to determine where that's gonna go.
I did have one more question. In the report, it talks about revising the preliminary plat to include outlot F. I can't find an outlot F.
Outlot F is the cul-de-sac bulk.
Oh, okay, thank you.
It's yeah.
I was just making notes in preparation to make a motion.
Just a couple of questions back on this road along the south property line. If the neighbor to the south has clearly stated that he's not going to develop his land and he does not want a road on his land, would it be wise to go ahead and dedicate 50 feet on the applicant's land since they know they're going to have to build that road on their land?
My response to that would be that this property owner may not own this property in perpetuity, and they may change their mind.
So the applicant understands that before they can build on more than one lot, they will have to dedicate additional easements, and they will bear the cost of building a public 2-lane rural road on their property?
Yes, we discussed that with them. We made it very clear, and we've gone back with them and ensured that they understood that.
Okay.
I mean, really, in that scenario, the risk to the county would be like a front yard setback potential.
I'm sorry, I can't hear.
The risk to the county could be like a front yard setback issue at that point, if they're enforced to have a 50-foot buffer instead of a 25-foot buffer. Do we add that language at least?
I think in this instance, with the size of the lots, they should have more than adequate room to meet all setbacks, whether it would be 25 feet or 50 feet.
Oh, I'm not disagreeing with that at all. I'm just saying, as it's written, you could build a house minimum setback off the proposed right of way and then have a potential issue.
If they were required to dedicate an additional 25 feet beyond the 25 feet that are there, realistically, that could be, I would consider that unlikely, but it is a possibility.
Yeah. And I'm not asking to put undue burden on the developer either. It's probably just something that should be noted with the development team.
Okay, any other discussion, questions from the commission? Otherwise, I would entertain 3 separate motions for this application. There's a rezoning request, a preliminary plat request, and a final plat request.
Tom, would you be willing to let someone from the audience speak?
I would be fine with that. Any objections from the commission?
Nope.
Come on up. This is like a Perry Mason scene right now. You're about to change everything.
It's not really that important, but maybe it is. I don't know.
We'll have you state your name for the record and sign in, sir.
There's been some discussion about...
What's your name, sir, if you would?
I'm sorry?
What's your name?
Dwayne Hamilton.
Dwayne, thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Go ahead.
There's been quite a bit of discussion about an existing driveway, which makes it sound like there's already an existing driveway there. And I just wanted to mention that taking a rock truck out and spreading a little rock on an open field with no base or anything is hardly a driveway. It's just, and most of that rock has disappeared because it's been there a couple of years. So that's all I wanted to say.
Okay.
Thank you.
You bet. Okay, any questions, further discussion from the commission? Otherwise, I would entertain a motion on rezoning.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to recommend approval of the rezoning from AG to RE2 for lots 1 through 3 and outlots A through F inclusive for a subdivision to be known as Buffalo Preserve, Sarpy County, Nebraska, as this meets with the comprehensive master plan.
And would that motion be subject to comments and attachments of the planning department recommendation report?
Since there are none, I kind of left that out.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Whitfield, second by Mr. Van Wielden. Any further discussion or questions? Hearing none, please vote.
Six yeas, 4 absent, Brnock, Weiss, Dembinski, Mattia. Motion carries.
Okay, at this time, I would entertain a motion for the preliminary plat.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion for approval of the preliminary plat for subdivision to be known as lots 1 through 3 and lots A through F inclusive for Buffalo Preserve, Sarpy County, Nebraska, subject to the following conditions. Upon submission of a building or grading permit on sites over an acre, the applicant must submit a drainage study prepared by an engineer and adhered with compliance with applicable stormwater management criteria. They must revise the final plat document to note direct access from lots 1 and outlots A to 204th Street are prohibited. Revise the preliminary plat title block to include outlot F.
Just those three?
Just those three. The others, I believe, were settled. I will not include items 5 and 6 in my recommendation because it's not part of the public meeting, and I don't feel that documents that may show up somewhere else should be part of this recommendation.
And with regard to item 1?
5 and 6.
No, with regard to item 1?
That was removed per the plat. That's involving the landowner to the south.
Mr. Chair, I think we wanted to be clear that that these conditions of approval did not apply to the landowner to the south, but they would still apply to this property owner.
So on 1A, if they do more than one lot, they're going to have to be in compliance with, that's where that 50-foot discussion was.
Okay. I will amend my motion for one more, that upon the development of any 2 or more lots within the Buffalo Preserve subdivision, a rural road shall be provided in compliance with Sarpy County subdivision regulations. One B is out. Am I correct?
No, that would also be applicable. In that instance, what that means is that if property owner, if that road should ever end up being paved, this property owner will pay for 1 lane of paving adjacent to their property. That's what that is specifying.
Is that always in the subdivision regulations anyway?
It's not part of the subdivision regulations, but we usually include it as a condition in the subdivision agreement. And really all that means is that upon additional development of the area, this landowner who's applied today is required to contribute. We don't.
For the future.
We don't say anything in the subdivision agreement or comment on any other property owner. We're only discussing this applicant and this land.
So
And it's just requiring pavement and payment
they're on
of
the
the
hook to
pavement.
participate in future.
Yes,
It should affect any other property.
Yep.
correct.
So I'll amend my amended motion to also include that upon the development of a subdivision or property adjacent to the east or the south of Buffalo Preserve, the developer shall provide for the contribution of a construction of a single lane of paved road adjacent to their subdivision.
Correct.
So to recap, for other members of the commission, in terms of our recommendations that were set forth in the proposed motion, you are including 1A, 1B, 2, 3, and 4.
Correct.
Thank you. Is there a second on that motion?
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Whitfield, second by Mr. Van Wielden. Any discussion, questions, or comments? Hearing none, please vote.
Six yeas, 4 absent, Vernock, Weiss, Mattia, Dembinski. Motion carries.
Okay, motion carries. And at this time, I would entertain a motion for the final plat.
I'm going to end on a positive, so here we go. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a recommendation for approval of the final plat to be known as Buffalo Preserve, lots 1 through 3 and A through F inclusive, Sarpy County, Nebraska, subject to the following comments. 1A, upon the development of any 2 or more lots within Buffalo Preserve, a rural road shall be provided in compliance with the Sarpy County subdivision regulations. 1B, upon the development of a subdivision of property adjacent to the east or to the south of Buffalo Preserve, the developer shall provide for the contribution or construction of a single lane of paved road adjacent to their subdivision. 2, upon submission of building or grading permits on sites over an acre, submit a drainage study prepared by an engineer and comply with all applicable stormwater management criteria. 3, revise the final plat document to note direct access from Lot 1 and Outlot A to 204th Street is prohibited. And 4, revise the final plat document title block to include Outlot F.
Motion by Mr. Whitfield. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Van Wielden. Any further questions or discussion? Hearing none, please vote.
Six yeas, 4 absent, Vernock, Weiss, Dembinski, Mattia. Motion carries.
Thank you. And Mr. Lococo, these would not be set yet for any county board action until, or county board action, the date would not be set yet.
This date is not set yet, no.
Okay. All right, thanks everyone who participated. Our next public hearing.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
I would request that we take the next 2 items on the agenda together. I'll present them as one application, and then you'll need to make 2 separate motions, or two separate motions, 2 separate votes on those. But it would be, I think, beneficial to just hear them both as one.
Okay. I can do that. So at this time, we're going to have a public hearing for items 4 and 5. I'm going to read them together, but they will be voted upon separately. Public hearing number 4 is a rezoning from Ag, Agricultural Farming District, to AGD, which is Agricultural Development District, and a preliminary plat and a final plat of a subdivision to be known as Lot 1 and Outlots A and B, Pioneer Homestead being a platting of part of the northwest quarter of Section 11, Township 12 North, Range 11 East of the 6 Prime Meridian, Sarpy County, Nebraska, generally located southwest of Highway 50 and Cornish Road. The applicant is Dalton Dagus, managing member of Pioneer Land Company, LLC. And then after that, we will have the public hearing and motion for a special use permit in AGD, Agricultural Development District, for a farm, implement, and contractor equipment sales and service business on proposed Lot 1, Pioneer Homestead, located on the southwest corner of Highway 50 and Cornish Road. Applicant, Dalton Dagus, managing member of Pioneer Land Company, LLC. Mr. Lococo.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So what we've got going on here is existing parcel on the corner. That's weird. well, okay. On the corner of Cornish Road and Highway 50, you've got an existing business and an existing single-family residence. They're kind of right next to each other. The applicant is proposing to split that lot, or those two uses off in a single lot from the rest of the parcel. The parcel would also include this to the south, this to the north, but those aren't being considered or part of this application today. Split those off into a separate lot. Since the existing farm implement dealership has been there for many, many years, that's actually considered a special use in the AG district. And as such, they are requesting a special use permit to allow for that existing use to remain. So here's an existing site plan. These three buildings here, closer to the intersection, we've got a shop, a building, and a cold storage building, all of which would be associated with the existing farm implement dealer. And then we've got the single-family residence and outbuilding located on the south end of the lot. The lots comprise 10.016 acres, with including both the home and the dealership. The two outlots that properties located within the Conservation Overlay District, requiring 40% to be preserved in outlots. That's what the purpose of outlot A and B are fulfilling here. Conserve the existing tree canopy located north and west of the site. There are no additions or changes to either the residence or to the existing dealership that are proposed. The proposed AGD, or Agricultural Development District, is consistent with the future land use designation for the property, which is agricultural, and the lot meets minimum lot size requirements. 40% of the site area is being conserved within the outlots. There are no waivers or exceptions requested or required as a part of the plat. Focusing specifically on the special use permit, the use on the site is not changing. And as such, the existing parking and circulation on the site can remain as legally non-conforming as it exists today. However, the applicant needs to note that any additions, expansions, or changes to the operation of the business would require that the property be brought into compliance with off-street parking regulations. That would include paving and ADA accessibility. With regard specifically to the subdivision then, and if additional right-of-way is required by the state, the plat would need to be adjusted accordingly to provide for that extra right-of-way. During conversations with the applicant, it was determined that it appears the well is actually located somewhere on Outlot A, but a specific location for that couldn't be exactly pinned down. So we'll need to provide or revise the plat to show that an easement is being provided. We'll work with the applicant to determine whether that's going to be specific to the location or a blanket easement for access to that well. We'll have to work that out prior to forwarding this to county board for final consideration. In any case, the subdivision agreement will address the location, ownership, and maintenance of that well. The request meets all the requirements of the Sarpy County zoning and subdivision regulations. And staff is recommending approval of the rezoning from AG to AGD and approval of the preliminary plat subject to the three conditions noted in the recommendation report. Approval of the final plat subject to the three conditions noted in the recommendation report. Separately, staff is also recommending approval of the special use permit subject to the conditions noted in the recommendation report.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Lococo. If the applicant is here this evening and would like to add any commentary, we'll have you come on up and state your name for the record.
Do I need to sign in as well?
You bet.
All right. I just needed to make one point of clarification on Outlot A.
And your name for the record, sir?
Oh, sorry, Dalton Dagus.
Thank you.
I just need to make one point of clarification on Outlot A. There's actually, there was a mistake. There's not actually a wellhead there. There's just a marker for a water line that runs under the property there. So the water is actually served by Meadow Oaks for the house. And that was like a marker for where that water line is running. So I don't know that we would need any sort of additional easement, but we would be happy to provide it if needed. So I'm also happy to answer any other questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone? Okay, we're going to open up the public hearing on this matter. Anyone have questions on this application or comments in favor of or opposed to? Now would be the time to come forward. Going once, going twice. You guys just love this meeting. You're all hanging out. Very good. Okay, we're going to close the public hearing. Mr. Lococo, based on the comments from the applicant with regard to a water line, would that change the proposed motions? You still need a access easement just for water line instead of a well and water line?
If the water line is servicing this property, we would want to ensure that there's access secured to it.
So maybe we're just removing the word "the well"?
That would suffice, I think, yes.
Okay, and that would be both in item 1 under preliminary plat and item 1 under final plat. Okay. Commissioners, what are your wishes or any questions or discussion?
Nothing.
Mr. Van Wielden, I feel that you're about to make a motion.
Sounds good. A motion to approve the rezoning from AG Agricultural Farming District to AGD Agricultural Development District for the subdivision to be known as Pioneer Homestead, Sarpy County, Nebraska, subject to the comments and attachments of the Planning Department recommendation report.
A motion by Mr. Wielden. Do we have a second?
Second.
Have a second by Ms. Kierlieber. Any further questions or discussion? Hearing none, please vote.
Six yeas, 4 absent, Bernard, Weiss, Dembinski, Mattia. Motion carries.
Okay, at this time, I would entertain a motion for the preliminary plat.
I'll make a motion for the approval of the preliminary plat of the subdivision to be known as Lot 1 and Outlots A and B of Pioneer Homestead, Sarpy County, Nebraska, subject to the comments and attachments in the Planning Department recommendation report and the following conditions. Number 1, revise the plat document to provide an access easement for the water line located on Outlot A, address the ownership and maintenance, I'll substitute this to of the water line in the subdivision agreement. Number 2, address all comments provided by the other departments and agencies. Number 3, address any other comments from planning staff sent separately in the attachments of the Planning Department recommendation report.
Okay, we have motion by Mr. Van Wielden. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Kierlieber. Any further questions or discussion? Hearing none, please vote.
6 yeas, 4 absent, Bernard, Weiss, Dembinski, Mattia. Motion carries.
And at this time, I would entertain a motion for the final plat.
I'll make a motion for the approval of the final plat of the subdivision to be known as Lot 1 and Outlots A and B, Pioneer Homestead, Sarpy County, Nebraska, subject to the comments and attachments in the Planning Department recommendation report and the following conditions. Number 1, revise the plat document to provide an access easement for the water line located on Outlot A, address the ownership and maintenance of the water line in the subdivision agreement, address any and all comments provided by other departments and agencies, and address any comments from planning staff sent separately in the attachments to the Planning Department recommendation report.
Motion by Mr. Van Wielden. Do we have a second?
Second.
Ms. Kierlieber, seconded. Any further questions or discussion from the commission? Hearing none, please vote.
6 yeas, 4 absent, Bernard, Weiss, Dembinski, Mattia. Motion carries.
Okay, and Mr. Lococo, our hearing here on number 5 relates back to what we just approved for recommendation on the zoning preliminary plat and final plat. So special use permit, you've already discussed that in terms of the farm implement sales and service.
That's correct.
Anything else to add?
I do not.
Okay, so at this time, we will open up the public hearing. This again is the application for the preliminary plat and final plat we just looked at, so that they are asking for a special use permit to basically continue the equipment sales that have been existing there in a non-conforming manner for many years. Anyone here have any questions or comments on that application? Anyone have questions or comments in terms of the special use permit to allow that business to continue in that location? Hearing none, I close the public hearing. What are the wishes of the commission?
I'll make a motion to recommend approval for the special use permit to allow farm implement sales and service subject to the comments and attachments of the recommendation report and the following conditions. Any changes, additions, or expansions of the use or buildings on the site shall require provision of on-street parking in compliance with the Sarpy County zoning regulations. Address any comments provided by other departments and agencies, and address any comments and red lines provided by the planning department as noted in the report.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Van Wielden. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second by Ms. Kierlieber. Any further questions or discussion? Hearing none, please vote.
Six yeas, 4 absent, Branock, Weiss, Dembinski, Mattia. Motion carries.
Okay, thank you. Our final public hearing this evening is for agenda item number 6, which is a request for a special use permit in Agricultural Farming District, for a commercial recreational area on property legally described as tax lot 26A in section 27, township 13 north, range 12 east of the 6th prime meridian in Sarpy County, Nebraska. Applicant is the Long Island Gravel Company. Mr. Lococo.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This special use permit is to allow a commercial recreation area to be located in the AG district on approximately 71.18 acres located at the southern terminus of South 87th Street. This is commonly referred to as Long Island Lake near Hawaiian Village. The site is comprised primarily of Long Island Lake, as well as a number of other uses on the site, including the Papillion Gun Club, and the City of Papillion well housings are also located on the site. There's also 3 existing cabins. The applicant is proposing to construct 1 additional cabin on Long Island Lake. You take a look at the site plan here. The proposed house is noted here, or its location. You've got the well housings located here. One of the existing single-family residences is on the west end of the lake. Another one here on the north side. Got the gun club. And then we've got a 3rd house located over here. There are no changes to the gun club or to the well housings that are proposed. And in fact, no changes proposed to the existing single-family residences on the site. They're simply proposing the addition of that 1 single-family residence located on the south end of the existing lake. The combination of uses on the site means that the overall property is essentially functioning as a commercial recreation area. You'll note that gun clubs or similar firearms ranges are actually listed as a commercial recreational use, as well as these types of cabin uses. So it made sense in discussing this with the property owner and the prospective home builder to bring the entire property into compliance with the regulations of the AG district to get this special use permit to make all the uses on the site existing and conforming. There are no existing changes to the uses on the property required or proposed except for the construction of the single-family residence. There's no changes to the access or circulation on this site, so so here's 87th Street. The property owner would be required to navigate through the gun club site, just like any of the other 2 property owners that are on the site to get to their building site. We do want to make sure that this easement or this access or this loop road is secured within an access easement so that everyone would have free access to that. commercial recreation areas are permitted as a special use in the AG district. It's substantially, this application or request complies with all the requirements of the Sarpy County zoning ordinance. We're asking that they submit some revisions to the operations and emergency plan. This property is located within the AE flood zone, so we want to ensure that there's safe evacuation, contact procedures in place to ensure people can get out if necessary. Just some clarifications provided in the operations plan related to the total number of home sites being considered. Some documents said 3, some said 4. Ownership and maintenance of the shared amenity spaces, we expect that would remain with, the ownership would remain with Long Island Gravel, but we want to ensure that if there's any responsibility for maintenance or upkeep on the lake or any other common areas, those are being spelled out. Just clarify the utility services that are existing and provided or proposed on the site. As I noted, those updates to the emergency evacuation plan. So with that, staff is recommending approval of the special use permit to allow a commercial recreation area with the 4 conditions noted in the recommendation report.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Lococo. Is the applicant here or a representative of applicant that would like to come forward? We'll have you sign in and state your name for the record.
Apologies, my address is wrong.
You're all right. If you remember the MASH episode when Radar O'Reilly was writing home to his mother and he said, "Mom, I'm writing slow because I know you don't read very fast."
Good evening. My name is Jacqueline McKim. I'm the representative for Long Island Gravel Company. I think the only thing I needed to clarify was that there are 4 existing homes out there, plus the 1 additional. One of them is marked as a building. It's on the east side.
Can you maybe pull the map back up and we can identify?
I'll break it if I touch it.
So where's this 4th home?
It's going to be down, this way. It is, I believe, it's one of these buildings.
We got 1 here,
Yeah, and I believe,
and then we identify,
correct me if I'm wrong. It's the furthest one, so
oh, so this
Where it
one.
just says building?
this one, that's marked building, yeah.
Okay, so that's,
That one is a home,
okay.
yes.
So just to clarify, that one is a home. That's a single-family residence.
Correct,
There's one on the west end of the lake, one on the north end of the lake,
correct,
and then your proposed home on the south end.
correct,
Okay.
yes. So I'm available for any other questions that anybody else might have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. McKim. So, Mr. Lococo, looking at our proposed motion, yeah, I think it's just a matter of updating that map before it goes to the county. We don't actually reference within the motion the number of houses, but the special use permit will, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay, at this time, I'm going to open the public hearing with regard to this application for a special use permit for a commercial recreation area. Does anyone have questions on this application or any comments? We'll have you come forward and sign in, state your name for the record.
Hi, my name is Jane Stengel. I live at 8618 Kauai Drive. We're right at the entrance to this development. And I just have some confusion here. If this is a residence, why is it being put in for a special permit of commercial recreation? My concern is that we already live with a gun club next to us. I'm concerned about excess noise. Is someone going to be having airboats on the river that's very loud? Is there going to be additional gun club shooting? Why is it commercial, not just straight residential?
Okay, thank you, Ms. Tangle. Anyone else have questions on this application or comments? We'll have you come forward. Anyone? Going once, going twice? Okay, we'll now close the public hearing. Mr. Lococo or the applicant, Ms. McKim, if you want to, I guess really the question is more of a legal question on how we come up with the designation for commercial recreation when we're actually discussing adding a fifth residence.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So in this instance, the property owner for the site is actually Long Island Gravel Company. And so, but there's a number of single-family residences that exist on the property and have for many, many years. They seem to live in harmony with the Papillion Gun Club. And so when you have that unusual combination of uses on a site, we had to work with the applicant to find a way to, they've got objectives in mind, but we also want to try and get as much compliance out of the site as possible with our current regulations. In doing that review, we determined that the commercial recreation area best fit the mix of uses that was on the site. It would allow for the construction of an additional residential use on the site, but would also allow for so the other use, like the gun club, to remain as it exists. I should specify, though, that with the approval of a special use permit for this property owner, if at any time they wanted to do an expansion of the gun club, that would require an amendment to the special use permit. If they wanted to add additional residential uses to the site, it would require an amendment to the special use permit. So part of the benefit of getting it under this, or going through this process and getting the special use permit, is that it allows the county to track the types of uses and the intensity of the uses that are occurring on the site. And it also gives the property owner a path forward for making amendments, changes, and revising the operation of their site as they see fit in the future.
Are they currently under any special use permit, or it's just non-conforming use currently?
It's just non-conforming.
Because it's been there forever.
Yes.
So this is the opportunity to bring them into our zoning regulations, have them conforming, and then, as you indicated, now there's something that if they violate the special use permit requirements, a complaint can be made and the special use permit could be reconsidered.
That's correct.
Okay. And the gravel company, they're done in terms of doing any further digging out there, which is why they're...
their operations are done there.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Mr. Lococo. Any questions from the commission or discussion on this item?
Yeah, I've got a question regarding the requirement for a floodplain development permit for a new structure. If the site, it's one site, one property, if the new structure will be required to conform with those permitting requirements, are we requiring the existing structures to be brought up to that standard?
No, the floodplain development requirements are applicable at the building permit level. So if one of those existing structures, those existing homes were to come in and ask to pull a building permit for improvements, and those improvements met a certain threshold, then compliance with floodplain regulations would be required. But compliance with floodplain regulations is required for all new structures, so this house would fall under, that's how this house would fall under, but the existing homes would not. Essentially, when the existing homes come in for a building permit, then we would review them for compliance with floodplain regulations.
Would that also be true then if the current homes were flooded and damaged more than 50%? At that point, they have to comply with, before they would get a permit issued to rebuild?
Yes, that's correct. I should note that, as they exist today, we don't have the authority to compel them to come into compliance with floodplain regulations as a part of the special use permit. They would need to make improvements, a financial contribution to the base value of the home before that could be reviewed.
Any other questions? Charlie?
No.
Other questions, comments from the commission?
I think we've got some public that has a question.
You guys okay entertaining? Come on up, sir. We'll have you speak we'll have you state your name and sign up.
Jeff Stankel. I guess the reason why I'm here is to get more clarification. Is there something that says with the commercial aspect of this, that there won't be any more noise than there is now? Because you're saying, okay, if he expands a gun club, but if this person comes in here and we just got another, there was an airboat company that was on the other side of the lake, our lake, Hawaiian Village, but he moved away. So now it's a lot more quieter. If this house entertains an airboat company or something that makes noise, are you saying that's okay for right now until he, or does he or she have to get a permit for that? Because at residential, I still don't know why you're not doing just residential. If that'll appease everybody. The minute you put commercial, they could open it up to anything that causes people to come down. We already got the gun club, which is way overdeveloped than what it was 30 years ago when I moved down there. And it shouldn't be as big as it is right now. But with that being said, this only allows them to expand even further. With something different even. I mean,
there's a couple different bits and pieces to your question. So let me take it a little bit at a time. A commercial airboat operation is not being approved as a part of the special use permit. It hasn't been identified as a use that's proposed on the site. And so if at any time they wanted to try to introduce that use, they would need to come in and gain approval for that from this board, or from this commission and from the county board. Frankly, don't see that happening, but.
I didn't expect the gun club to be as big as it is right now.
Now, in terms of the residential use and why it's not just being simply residential, as the property owners, Long Island Gravel Company, in order for them to be able to split the gun club off, they would have to come in, create a separate lot, turn that, and go and get a use permit for the gun club. They would also then have to come in for each of those residential uses and split that into a different lot. They'd have to go get waivers. They'd have to do subdivision improvements in an area where, as you noted, it's pretty quiet and low intensity, with the exception of the gun club. And that wasn't a realistic solution, not only for their ability to develop one additional residence on the site, but also for their ability to keep the existing uses, or bring those other uses into compliance. And working with the applicant, we determined that we could get the use permit to gain some control over the operation of any commercial ventures on the site, but at the same time also allow somebody to construct a single-family residence on the site that they could use for their own private recreational purposes. So that was the rationale for going the route of the special use permit. I don't think that we would have been able to get this if we had said you also are going to need to split the gun club off onto its own separate property and lot and rezone it and all of those things. It wasn't feasible. And
I understand it wouldn't be feasible, and
so we determined essentially that gaining some control over it in this manner was better than just letting things go the way they
so you're saying you couldn't go with, from what I'm hearing, you can't go with a normal residential. You had to go with the commercial because it's, otherwise the gun club would have to be.
It's a mixed use, basically.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Currently.
Can you put in there something that you will, or they do have to have a permit for any commercial use for that property?
Yes, the special use permit now puts them in a position where if they want to change, alter, or expand any of the existing uses on the site, they would need to come back to the commission and board.
And that's dictated in something, or is that just?
That's our zoning regulations. That's how our
special use permit will specifically list the restrictions.
Okay, as long as it'll
Yep.
have that restriction in there.
And are you in the Hawaiian Village?
Yeah, I'm right on the corner. That was my wife. We're right on the corner at the entrance of the gun club,
Do
so.
you guys have a declaration of covenants or something that restricts airboats on Hawaiian Village?
We have for airboats, yes, but there was in that cabin down, or that log house down there, they had a airboat company on the river. And they moved away. Wasn't it the? Well, they closed it. Yeah, they closed it or something, but. Yeah.
Okay, so it was part of this land, the Long Island Lake, or different? Different.
I don't know that.
You're just happy they're gone.
I'm happy they're gone, and I wish the gun club would be gone too,
Okay.
or go back to the way they were, but.
Okay.
Robert, if there had been expansions done by the gun club, which it kind of looks like that may have been the case, does that mean they did those without a permit?
Good question.
Yes, but there are some, and I might defer to Nicole a little bit on this, but Nicole might not have the case history on this. Nicole's counterpart, Steve Preston, who's not with us this evening, and I did quite a bit of research on gun clubs and what they are allowed and not allowed to do based on federal statute, not state or county statute, so.
Yeah, I don't have the history on that. I think it came down to the gun club has been in use for quite a long time. And as you know, it's kind of the Wild West sometimes in planning. So as things like this happen, you try and get them under the regulations which fit. And so this is what we're doing now. So yeah, I don't have the history of the gun club.
I mean, if perchance, this is hypothetical, if they did do expansions without permit, wouldn't that be a means where the county could go down and specifically with the gun club?
It sounds like there was a lot of research done on that, and I just can't comment because there may be some rules and regulations that aren't, they're more federally regulated as far as gun clubs, and I didn't do any of that research, didn't see it.
I think if they're federally governed, then shooting lead into the river isn't a good, or it's illegal. They're not using steel shot, they're using lead.
Well, my understanding is they had to have a special use permit in order to get their permit, the gun club. And I think they've got some sanitary facilities down there, water lines and so forth. So I don't want to get the gun club mad at me, but it just seems like there's some avenues where if there's an issue, you could pursue it.
Yes, yeah, you are correct with that, Commissioner. You know, regardless of the existence of the use on the site as there is today, there's still building code violations. There's still nuisance violations that are nuisance regulations that any property owner or user in the county would be expected to adhere to.
So, thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir.
I have a question for the applicant.
Ms. McKim, if you'd come back up, please.
Since the gun club has come up, are they aware that this is being done and essentially possibly being handcuffed for any future changes?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I should also point out, we didn't include it in the information that was sent out, but we do have a letter of support from the gun club that was submitted as part of application materials.
Perfect.
Okay. Oh, hang on, Ms. McKim.
Yes, sir.
Question for you. So if Hawaiian Village has restrictions on airboats on their area, I don't know if you have any restrictions or rules on your lake. Would you be willing to add a restriction against airboats on your Long Island Lake?
1,000%.
Okay. Well,
We actually, on our lake, we can't have anything that is gas powered. Our lake is only battery.
Is there anything to prevent them from launching from the river?
That'd be a separate jurisdictional issue, right? I mean, that's.
Now you're getting into waters of the US and all that.
Yeah, I mean, we wouldn't have any control over that on this board.
Yeah, what goes up and down the rivers.
Right, beyond this, unless they were launching from this facility.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Most of the time, it's pretty dry up against this property most of the time. The river's mostly to the south.
I mean, if they were to propose a boat ramp, that would trigger a modification to the special use permit, correct?
That's a good example of exactly the type of thing that would require an amendment to the special use permit and would come back before this board for their consideration.
Okay. Any other questions, discussion amongst the commission? If not, I sense a motion coming.
I'd like to clarify something.
Sure, Ms. Stengel?
You made the comment about it being a quiet neighborhood. It's anything but that. When we moved there in '95, the gun club would operate Thursday evenings and Sundays. Now it's pretty much every day of the week. Wednesday at 3 o'clock, I came home, bam. Thursday, I came home at 4 in the afternoon, got out of my car, bam. Coming here tonight, bam, 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 bam. Just going from my house to the car. Wednesday, Thursday, Tuesday, weekends, Saturday, there was traffic. The traffic lines up all the way from the gun club, all the way to the entrance to Hawaiian Village. We have no sidewalks. So people that like to walk, whether they're kids with strollers or their dog, there is no sidewalk for them. And when there's cars parked on the shoulder of the road, there's no place for pedestrians to go. They open up the water field and people park in there, but it's very dangerous. And it is every single day. That started about 10 years ago when he started bringing the high school students down. There's a group that comes down Thursday mornings, 9 a.m. 9 a.m., you can set your watch. They're going to start shooting. It's a group of 3 or 4 very nice men. I've gone over and talked to them. But you're out in your yard, 9 in the morning, weeding your garden. Bam! Out of the blue. So when you say it's characterized as a quiet neighborhood, it's not that anymore. It was in 1995. It's no longer that. Just for the record. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Lococo, in terms of the special use permit, is there any hours of operation, other restrictions whatsoever on the gun club?
There is not, and I should be clear that this is for the construction of one single-family residence. This is not a special use permit that is specific to the operation of the gun club. The operation of the gun club is not changing and is not impacted by this request. There could be future amendments which were specific to the gun club, but this request is for the construction of a single-family residence only.
The special use permit only applies to this one building.
No, it doesn't. I'm sorry, it does not apply to this one building, but the request is specific to the construction of this single-family residence.
Understand.
The special use permit is applicable to the entire property boundary.
Which then means this is the opportunity to, if there's other changes or things we would like to see, that would be the time to do it, right?
Yes, I would say categorically, yeah, or yes, I would say that. I would also say, though, that without having discussions with the membership or owners of the gun club, and including them in this conversation, I would be hesitant to impose conditions of approval based on their operation without consulting them.
Ms. McKim, you want to rejoin us up front? I'm going to exceed everyone else's curiosity.
Yes.
So do you own, you don't own because, or maybe you own the gravel. Are you the owner of the property?
No, we are shareholders of the property.
And do you guys then lease to the gun club, or the gun club is also a shareholder that they have
No, the
certain
gun
rights?
club, that's tricky. They own their building and their parking lot.
Okay.
They lease the trap field from us.
And does the lease have any restrictions, requirements, hours of operation, anything to your knowledge?
That I do not know. I know they do have hours of operations, and I don't want to guess, so I won't. But they do have hours of operation posted on their rules of the traps.
It's
out of the-
listed 8
8
a.m. to, on their website, it says 8 a.m. to 9:30 p.m.
9:30 p.m., yeah.
So it's
7 days a week.
It's not very restrictive at all.
The gun club is listed under your operational plan, under this special use permit?
Yes, correct. Because we have an easement to go to use the road. We share that road between their building and the trap field.
So is this your information, or is this the gun club's information? Because Mr. LaRocca said that the gun club was not consulted.
I'm sorry, can you clarify what information are we looking at?
There's information on your operational plan that was submitted in support of this special use permit,
Yes, correct.
specific to the gun club.
Yes, correct.
Did you provide that, or did the gun club?
No, the
provide
gun club provided their letter of recommendation or approval, saying they didn't have any concerns with where we were building the residence and agreeing to an easement of sharing the use of that road.
Yeah, I'm talking about the operational plan, which somebody submitted.
Right, so can I see what he's looking at?
Pardon me?
Can you put it up on the screen?
Yeah,
The operational plan?
yes, please.
Yeah, I don't know that we included that as an attachment in my slide presentation.
I got it right here.
Do you want to put it on the overhead?
I guess one question maybe to the board as we're bringing this up, and or the county, whose jurisdiction is the gun club regulation? I know we're kind of bringing this in because of this case, which makes total sense, but who ultimately would propose? I mean, is it Sarpy County in general? Is it, we're outside of any city ETJ, so who's responsible for like the hours of operation?
I'm sorry, Commissioner. Can you clarify what you mean by who's responsible? Like, do you mean, are we setting the hours of operation for the gun club as a part of the special use permit, or is there some other entity that could control those hours of operation?
Yeah, I guess my big question is what jurisdiction does the gun club operation fall under?
Based on the research that I did with the county attorney's office, an existing gun club can remain essentially and operate and function as it does without the need for approvals from the local jurisdiction.
Essentially a non-conforming use.
A non-conforming use that has the special trait of not being subject to the requirement or the zoning regulations of the underlying jurisdiction. But this was a long time ago, and this was, again, it was with Steve Preston. I wish he was here because.
You know what, I've been studiously looking through my emails here. And take in mind that I've only just read a few emails, so I haven't done a thorough research here. But it sounds like I've got an email that talks about the Nebraska Shooting Range Protection Act provides that existing shooting ranges are not subject to local zoning, discharge, and noise limits. So I think that may be part of the reason why there's not a lot of oversight here related to the gun club in this operation plan, because I think Steve and Robert researched this issue previously, and so that's where we are.
So that's saying we can't make special recommendations for the gun club in this setting.
Correct. That's what it looks like on my email. And again, I'm kind of going on the fly here. Because it is an existing gun range, if there were something new that was applied for, we would, I'm sure, have more authority over that.
So the only exception is not on expanding operations in terms of number of shooting pads, bunkers, structures, without in the future amending the permit, right?
That's correct.
Maybe.
Yeah, I don't even know if we could do that. Unless there was some other use. Just based on the quick back and forth here.
Yeah, it looks like the email further goes on to say that in looking at some of the information that the county cannot place any operationally related conditions on the shooting range, special use permit, which would be inconsistent with the Nebraska Shooting Range Protection Act. Of course, they would have to comply if they were to put a new building in place or plumbing or things like that. But that's my off-the-cuff 2-minute review of some emails. So.
Well, I've already learned something I didn't know. There's a statute out there on the Nebraska Shooting Range Protection Act.
Homework.
Yeah. Okay, Miss McKim, you're dying to sit down. Go ahead.
Thank you.
All right, commissioners, any other questions, comments? Otherwise, I would entertain a proposed motion.
I'll make a motion for the approval of the special use permit to allow a commercial recreational area subject to the comments and attachments of the recommendation report and the following conditions. Number 1, revise the emergency access plan to address the following: clearly define a contact procedure, including secondary backup method of contact and evacuation procedure for all residents, identify evacuation routes for all residents and other uses on the property. Number 2, revise the operations plan to address the following: clarify the number of residents existing and proposed on the site. If additional home sites are to be considered, identify the number and location of future sites, provide information on the ownership and maintenance of shared amenities and spaces, including the access road, the lake, and any common areas. Provide information on existing or proposed utility services on site. Clarify if each residence is responsible for their own utility service, or is there a shared/common service provided. Number 3, address all comments provided by other departments and agencies forwarded to the applicant as they are received. Number 4, address all comments and red lines provided to the planning department not noted in the report.
We have a motion by Mr. Van Wielden. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Huck. Any further discussion, comments? Hearing none, please vote.
Six yea, 4 absent. Bernard, Weiss, Dembinski, Mattia. Motion carries.
And Mr. Lococo, this also does not have a specific timeline going to the board, so that'll be advertised, correct?
That's correct.
So for anyone interested in following this through, basically it goes to the county board after us, date not yet set, but there'll be public hearings and testimony there as well. Okay, that was our last public hearing for the evening. Next, we go to our correspondence agenda. Any commissioners' reports this evening? On behalf of Kolmbrethnach, I wish you all a happy St. Patrick's Day. Mr. Lococo, Planning Department report.
Nothing to report, thank you.
Okay. All right, our next currently scheduled meeting is on Tuesday, April 21st. Do we have applications in the hopper for that one, or still to be determined?
We currently have 2 applications tentatively scheduled.
Very good. All right, I would declare this meeting adjourned at 9:29 p.m. Thanks, everybody.